Imagine being able to travel a long time ago, to be able to go to the past and be the first complex living being. Oh look, that's you. Let's get a little closer. You are the first cell in the world. Let's see your trip to the present. Good luck. The theory of evolution. Robert Darwin was born on 1809 in England. He studied in a school next to his brother. He was a good student, and what interested him most was chemistry. Darwin's uncle recommended him to go on an expedition. He had to collect as many different animals and specimens as possible, so that the scientists of England could study them. First, Darwin trips go to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Darwin collected a great diversity of plants, insects, and other animals. There, he realized that the relationship between certain plants and insects resembled those that exist in England, also they are of different species. In the next stop, he goes the Andes. Darwin makes several excursions, when in one of them he observes an eruption. Thanks to it, he develops a theory of the formation of the world. But surfed an earthquake and had to leave history to stay alive. On 1835, he arrived in Galapagos, a little-known paradise until that moment. While collecting samples, he realized that some birds were quite similar to each other, but at the same time they were so different as to be considered different species. He was also surprised by the size of the giant turtles he had never seen before. Thanks to that, he began to form some ideas about the origin of the species. Finally, Darwin arrived in Australia,
where he is surprised by the fauna, due to its difference with other parts in the world, such as platypus, from where he returns home to England. After the trip of Darwin settled in London, he got married and had 10 children. I'll take the opportunity to publish several books, and the most important of them, The Theory of Evolution.
Well, in what consists the theory of evolution? The theory of evolution explains why in its environment there are different species. This theory is that all animals, either internally or externally, adapt to a particular environment. This adaptation is vital for survival. But the animals have to adapt to the environment in order to survive, because if it does not adapt in the best way, they will end up extinct. This case can be due to several different factors. It can be the temperature, the flora, or the animals of the environment. A good example of evolution occurred recently in the 19th century, when the 98% of the moths in the United Kingdom were whitish and only the 2% were dark brown. Due to contamination, the trees were darker in color. Then, the whitish moths were more visible to their predators. For this reason, the moths began to change from white to brown. After 50 years, more than 95% of the moths in the United Kingdom were already brown in color. Another example of evolution is from a fish called Dipnoi. It lives in tropical areas where times of drought and floods alternate. Then, this fish had to develop lungs so that in the dry seasons it can breathe while looking for another puddle to stay.
But the interesting thing
are not the closest evolutions, but the sum of all of them throughout all the time, each age, and each time we've been evolving to adapt, survive, mature. And the further back we go, we are simpler until we reach the point of a single cell. Now the question is, what obstacles will nature or ourselves put in order to have to evolve?